Have you ever sent someone a message only to stare at your phone, waiting for a reply that never comes? You check it every 5 minutes, wondering if you're being ignored or if there's something wrong with you. This is a story about Ryan, a regular guy who found himself in that exact situation when Emma, the woman he'd been texting for weeks, suddenly went silent. But what started as frustration and overthinking turned into an opportunity for growth. Let's walk through Ryan's journey, and by the end, you'll know exactly what to do if you ever find yourself in his shoes. On the unexpected silence, Ryan was a fun-loving, easy-going guy, or so he thought. He had been talking to Emma for weeks. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter, shared interests, and inside jokes. That morning, Ryan woke up and decided to send her a good morning text. Nothing complicated, just a meme they'd both find funny. He hit send and waited for the familiar buzz of a reply. But the reply didn't come. At first, Ryan shrugged it off. She's probably busy, he thought. But as the hours dragged on, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. By lunchtime, he was rechecking their previous conversations. Did I say something wrong? Did I offend her somehow? By the end of the day, Ryan's mind was running wild. He replayed every interaction they'd had in his head. Was she losing interest? Was she talking to someone else? The silence was louder than any rejection he could have imagined. 2. The overthinking trap. As the second day rolled around with still no reply, Ryan was officially in panic mode. His thoughts became a loop of self-doubt. He started analyzing every detail about himself. Was he boring? Not attractive enough? Too clingy? Ryan's confidence, something he'd always prided himself on, was slipping away with each passing hour of silence. And then he did what many of us are tempted to do. He sent her a follow-up text. Something casual like, "Hey, everything okay?" But as soon as he hit send, he regretted it. What if she thought he was being too pushy? What if this text only pushed her further away? He stared at his phone for another hour, waiting for the message to show red, but nothing changed. Ryan's frustration began turning into obsession. He found himself checking her social media, looking for signs of activity. She'd posted a story earlier that day, so clearly she wasn't too busy to be on her phone. So why was she ignoring him? 3. Seeking help. That evening, Ryan couldn't handle it anymore. He decided to vent to his best friend, Jake. Jake was the kind of friend who could always put things into perspective, even if his advice was blunt. Ryan: "Jake, I don't get it. Emma and I were fine, and now she's just gone. I don't know what to do." Jake, laughing: "First of all, calm down. It's not the end of the world. Second, have you ever thought that maybe this has nothing to do with you?" Ryan raised an eyebrow. He hadn't considered that possibility. Jake: "Look, man, people have their own stuff going on. Maybe she's busy, maybe she's stressed, or maybe she just needs space. It's not always about you." Ryan sighed. That wasn't the answer he was hoping for. He wanted solutions, an action plan. But Jake wasn't done yet. "Jake, here's what you need to do. Stop focusing on her and start focusing on you. Go to the gym, pick up an old hobby, hang out with your friends. The more you obsess over her silence, the more it's going to mess with your head." At first, Ryan resisted the advice, but deep down, he knew Jake was right. He couldn't control Emma's actions, but he could control his own. 4. The turning point. So the next day, Ryan decided to make a change. He put his phone on silent and set it aside. No more checking every 5 minutes. Instead, he made a list of things he'd been neglecting. First on the list, running. Ryan had always loved jogging through the park, but he'd stopped after getting caught up in his texting routine with Emma. Lacing up his sneakers and hitting the trail felt like a breath of fresh air, literally and figuratively. Next, Ryan dusted off his old sketch pad. Drawing had always been his escape, but somewhere along the line, he'd let it slip away. Now, as he sketched, he felt a sense of calm he hadn't experienced in weeks. But the biggest change came when Ryan reconnected with his friends. Over the past few months, he'd unintentionally distanced himself, prioritizing his conversations with Emma over spending time with them. Now, sitting at a cafe with his buddies, laughing over old stories, he realized how much he'd missed these moments. Bit by bit, Ryan's confidence started to return. He was rediscovering the things that made him, him. And with each passing day, he found himself thinking less and less about Emma's silence. 5. The message that changed everything. Then, just when Ryan had finally stopped obsessing over his phone, it happened. It was a message from Emma. Ryan hesitated before opening it. A part of him wasn't sure he even wanted to read it, but curiosity got the better of him. Emma's message was brief but heartfelt. She apologized for her silence, explaining that she'd been dealing with personal issues. It wasn't something she felt ready to talk about earlier, but now she wanted to let him know that it had nothing to do with him. Ryan felt a wave of relief, but also something unexpected: gratitude. This experience had taught him something he wouldn't have learned otherwise. 6. The lesson learned. Ryan could have let Emma's silence break him. He could have spiraled into self-doubt and desperation, but instead he chose to focus on himself, and that made all the difference. Through this experience, Ryan learned 3 key lessons. 1. It's not always about you. Sometimes people go silent because they're dealing with their own struggles. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. 2. Focusing on yourself is powerful. When you shift your energy away from someone else and back onto your own growth, you become stronger and more confident. 3. Patience is key. Rushing for answers or chasing after someone rarely works. Sometimes giving people space is the best thing you can do. And here's the most important takeaway. Whether Emma came back into Ryan's life or not, he knew he'd be okay. Because he'd found strength in himself. And that's something no one can take away. So if you're ever in Ryan's position, left on red or feeling ignored, remember this: your worth isn't determined by someone else's attention. Take that time to invest in yourself, grow, heal, and rediscover what makes you amazing. If you enjoyed this story and want more relatable, inspiring content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. There's so much more to explore together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.
If you want to watch a related kind of this video, go to my channel and see a lot of videos there. Don't miss it.